1 2 1 2. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Motive Racing YouTube channel. We are back here for the penultimate round of Season 5 here on the PlayStation 5 platform on Assetto Corsa Competizione. We have got, I think, 24... Oh gosh, actually, let me just turn off my background sound there, one sec. Apologies for that, that's now sorted out. We are back here tonight for the penultimate round, as I've said. We've got 24 drivers in the session, I think, for tonight. We've got a driver making his debut tonight as well. Big warm welcome to, well, the seasonal debut, and also debut on the PS5 as well. Gertjan, our Formula 1 champion here at Motive, obviously took the F1 Championship last season. Had a bit of a nightmare on Friday night. Jumped in as a late standing reserve at Jeddah and crashed out on the second lap of the race. He was blaming the fact that he'd been playing too much ACC. Well, now, Gertjan, is your time for all of that to be put to good use, because currently this is ACC, so no excuses this time. But although he'll probably be saying he's been playing F1 all day now. But no, all jokes aside, obviously, well, good to see Gertjan out on track. Currently P17 in this session, up against some seasoned veterans, some guys who have been playing ACC for pretty much since it came out. I think on the PlayStation, it came out in late 2020 on the PlayStation platform, or mid 2020 I think it was, but it wasn't really complete at that point. It only really got the game up and running by about late 2020 I think it was. It's been about 3 years of development. Drivers have been evolving and constantly figuring out the game, understanding how it works, and getting setups to the right sort of appropriation. But yeah, ultimately it should be an interesting night here tonight. We've got plenty of drivers who can be up there fighting for it, but currently Jazzman has got a bit of a gap at the top of the leaderboard. You can see here 7/10 of a second he's got right now over Tynerson House. So Jazzman is really on form at the moment. Tynerson House coming up towards the line. Can he improve on his current personal best? Doesn't for the time being, but yeah, Jazzman looking in imperious form. Roby there losing it coming down the back straight, and did he give it a pin into the barriers there? I'm not sure. I think he just kept it out of the wall. But close call there for Robe. Ludo currently sat in 4th place at the moment, as we see Guido Chris has gone up into P7, has moved ahead of TJ Carter there on the leaderboard. But we got Ludo in 4th. PS Vid's currently P5 at the moment. He's jumping in the Ferrari for the first time ever, PS Vids. He's a driver who I've seen drive many different cars throughout the season. I think his first one was the Aston Martin, and then he went in the BMW. Oh, and how could I forget? He also took the Bentley to a championship in Season 2. So this is obviously Season 5, that was a long time ago now. I say Season 2, although saying that, for the sake of the history books here at Motive, I'm considering combining the PlayStation 4 seasons and the PlayStation 5 seasons, so it's all just one kind of series, because otherwise it does get a bit confusing. I initially tried to do it so that it was like a reset when we got to PS5, so it was Season 1 again, and so on and so forth. But I'm now thinking, for the sake of ease of access and understanding, anybody jumping in, it also makes my life easier as well. So I don't know, could be currently Season 2 champion, but could end up being Season 12 champion or something like that. I don't know, we'll have to actually count where we are up to, because I have genuinely lost track of how many seasons we've had all together here at Motive now. We've been going for 3.5 years. Obviously we started in March 2020, just as COVID basically stopped everybody's lives. And yeah, pretty much we're on the PS4 back then, and it's just, yeah, it's been a lot of seasons, a lot of short seasons, usually 6 to 8 weeks, and obviously in 3.5 years that's probably about 20 seasons altogether. I haven't actually been keeping count, as I said, but yeah, we've been going for a long time. Ludo in the meantime goes over the line. He's currently P3 and he stays in P3 for the time being, so no changes just there for him. Roby coming out of the final corner. Let's see what he can put on the board here. We've got just under 2 minutes left in the session, so he'll get another lap in after this, but he's coming over the line now, and he doesn't improve either, stays in 4th place for the time being. But yeah, Currently, Jazzman setting a very dominant pace here tonight out in front. 123 dead, knocking on the doors of the 22s, but hasn't quite managed to sneak in there just yet. We've got Glenn in the comments here saying, evening, I made it. Start last, let's see what we can do from no practice. Yeah, Glenn obviously wasn't sure if he'd make it earlier on. He messaged me earlier in the day, about midday, to let me know that he might not be able to get back in time, but all being well with the traffic, he would be able to. And obviously he got in about 20 minutes ago, so yeah, he did manage to just squeeze himself in time to start the race, but I think he doesn't really want to be in the thick of it here because presumably he doesn't have too much confidence with no practice, which is understandable, but I'm sure he knows the circuit. Brands Hatch, I think it's generally a fan favourite, and any British driver knows this track like the back of their hand. I'm telling you now, any British motor racing fan knows this track like the back of their hand. You've got Paddock Hill Bend, that little dip, the right hander goes up into the uphill hairpin of Druids. It's just absolutely fantastic. All of the Brands Hatch GP circuit, the middle part, the never-ending series of right-handers. You're never far away from that curve. It can really bite you if you get a bit too aggressive and get complacent. It's a real challenge, but yeah, I do enjoy driving Brands Hatch. I know this track very well and tend to have gone quite well here back in my racing days. Obviously, don't actually race anymore. I've actually sold my wheel now, albeit it's still sat in the corner, so I can look at it and I can savour it for a few more days, maybe. Don't know, I probably should get it shipped away quickly because it's actually been sold on eBay to a very lucky customer for £108. So obviously somebody's going to be very happy very soon with that. But currently we've got Tynus coming into the final corner, and is he going to be able to complete a lap? He will be. That's where Tynus Bordeaux is going to the pits, so he's not actually going to improve there. So Tynus there bringing it in, so it's going to be P2 at best here for him. Robe's still out there, PS Vids is also still out there, so they could potentially be able to capitalise on Tynus not doing a lap on this improving track surface here. Guido Chris currently out there coming down the back straight. Carl Wiley's parked it, he's in the pits now. He's not going to improve either, so we've got Remster coming over the line. Currently P10 in this session as he crosses over. What is it going to be for Remster? He doesn't improve. P10 there for him at best. Andrew coming up towards the line. Who's gone quicker there? Somebody's gone quicker. Not sure who it was. Andrew doesn't improve. He stays in P10. Actually, he moves up a position there. Guido Chris still out there, and Robe's still out there. PS Vid's in the pits, he's not going to improve. Here comes Robe then, coming out the final corner. Oh no, he's lost it. He goes wide onto the gravel there, out of the final corner. That is his lap done. Unfortunately, he just took a little bit too much on the exit of the final corner. Got the foot down a little bit too heavy. As we've got Guido Chris coming around the final corner, what can he do? Up towards the line he comes. Is it going to be an improvement on P7? No, it's not. Didn't improve his lap time either, so he stays sat in between Totally Zero and TJ Carlo. But that is the qualifying session leaderboard here at Brands Hatch for this 7th round, the penultimate race of Season 5 here for the GT3 Championship. Jazzman taking pole ahead of Tynus in the house, with Ludo third ahead of... that was a hiccup, ahead of Robo in P4. And we've got PS Vids fifth ahead of Totally Zero in 6th. Then you've got Guido Chris and TJ Carlo in 7th and 8th places. Carl Marley and Andrew in 9th and 10th, followed by Remster and Lol 3000. Then you've got High Grade and Snoopy, followed by Epiphany and Aerocode. Gertian lining up 17th here, jumping in late in the qualifying session. Our F1 champion making his debut on the PS5 here at Motive, with Capriglia alongside him. You've got Day in 19th ahead of Sharka Zulu, with Stevie Mac, followed by Sean. Stevie Mac and Sean, welcome along, boys. I get the feeling they might be brothers, looking at their names. I could be wrong though, I could be very wrong there. But I don't know, they could just be mates actually, I don't know. But obviously, good, big warm welcome to these guys because they're jumping in for their first ever race here tonight, and it's great to see. Got a message off of Stevie the other day saying he can't wait to get into it, and really excited to join the league and watching the races online on YouTube, and just wanted to get involved in the action, so it's great to see Glenn lining up behind those two, Chris and Glenn lining up behind them. But yeah, good to see those boys out on track here tonight, and all the best to them. Hopefully they can mix it up with some of the fastest and most experienced drivers on the PlayStation platform. But we've got just over a minute left to go until the start of this penultimate round of the season. Jazzman and Tynus on the front row. Again, not really a surprise there. We said that many times in the past, but Jazzman in the Ferrari may just be a little bit too strong for Tynus tonight. We saw in the qualifying he had 6/10 on him a few moments ago, so it's going to be very hard for Tynus to be able to offer him too much of a fight here. Yeah, I think he needs to get a good start here this time. This race could be won off at the start line. I know it's a cliche. They say you can't win a race at the first corner, but you can certainly lose it. But this is one of those situations where Tynus and Jazzman, they're two extremely consistent drivers, and they're very clean as well. They don't like to rub doors too much because they tend to, I think, pride themselves on their cleanliness. So I think that if Tynus does manage to get the jump on Jazzman into turn one, he's got, I would say, probably about a 60% chance of winning the race. It really is one of those situations where you could win the race at the first corner tonight, I think, especially because it's not an easy track to overtake in the GT3s here at Brands Hatch. Touring cars, very different story. You can get some great racing in the touring cars, project cars too especially. Touring cars overtaking is fantastic. It's a great race, great racetrack for touring cars, but in the GT3s it can be notoriously difficult to overtake around here. So again, could be a difficult night for those who have qualified down low, and obviously for Jazzman and Tynus being in the positions that they are. But here we go, guys. We are getting ready to go for this race here tonight at Brands Hatch. 25 drivers in the server. As here we go, putting off for the line. We're just coming through in towards Clearways, and then we'll be out onto the start finish straight and underway down towards Paddock Hill Bend for the first time. Currently watching Remster, who's mid-pack. Let's get some eyes on the front of the grid here, so we know exactly what's going on in terms of the sharp end. There's Tynus. We've got eyes on Tynus here as they're coming through up towards the line. Can Tynus get this better start, which he desperately needs? Jazzman's starts in the Ferrari have not been the best so far this season, so could that be the opportunity here? Here we go, we're green, down towards Paddock Hill Bend we go for the first time. Tynus has got a slightly better start, but has he got the grip around the outside to go for it? He's going to go for it, he's going to send it. Oh, a bit of a slide there from Tynus, gets wide onto the gravel as well, but holds it and keeps momentum up the hill in towards Druids we go. Jazzman though leads with Tynus there keeping ahead of the Ferrari of Ludo, as Robe's looking on the outside of Ludo going through Druids, and he's managed to make that move there as Robe. So Robe up into third place, and Ludo losing out. Or is that Ludo? Sorry, it's not Ludo, sorry. What's happened to Ludo? Where is Ludo actually? Ludo's dropped down to P12 according to my screen. I don't know how true that is, but Robe there running in third place at the moment, and that is Ludo behind him, so that's the timing screen messing up there. So it was Ludo, I was right, but Jazzman, Tynus, Robe, Ludo, PS Vid's your top five. Then you've got Totally Zero just behind him. As let's switch to the well, we've got the heli camera at the moment, which we don't really want, but we can come back to that in a second. But currently we've got TJ Carlo in the midst of a battle, as Carl Marley almost charged his inside there. Also, TJ Carlo has lost out to Guido Christ, I think, has he? Or is he ahead? No, TJ Carlo actually is ahead of Guido Christ, so that's Guido Christ there in between TJ Carlo and Carl Marley. Carl Marley almost hitting Guido Christ at the end of the back straight here on the first lap. That was a close call there for him. Andrew there running in P10 ahead of Remster, followed by Lol 3000, then you've got High Grade in 13th ahead of Error Code, followed by Snoopy. Gertian, but E16 is up in position on this first lap. Sean's made up 4 places, and so is Stevie Max. So the 2 new boys to the league making gains here on this opening lap. I think there's been some incidents here by the looks of it. It would appear Shark, Zulu and Epiphany and Day have all been involved in first lap melees here, because those 3 are occupying the 3 last places here on this first lap. Oh! As there is a big slide there for Epiphany, and he's off onto the grass, and this first lap is going from bad to worse, and Day there also going wide. Those 2 have got some obvious damage on their cars, which is really hampering them at this point. And that's going to be extremely frustrating for both of those 2. Tynus though leading ahead of, Jazzman leading ahead of Tynus. 1.2 the gap. Oh, in the background, Robe there gets it all wrong, putting off onto the grass. And is he retiring the car here? I'm not sure. Ludo in the meantime is trying to defend from PS Fit, who is really attacking on him. Robe's in the pits, so he's got damage, I think, on the car. I'm not sure exactly what's gone off there, but you got Totally Zero currently hassling the back of PS Fit right now for 4th place. And there's the rest of them all going down the back straight here on the second lap of the race, as there is currently Error Code hassling the back of High Grade coming down towards the end of the back straight. Looking to the inside there, High Grade keeps it around the outside for the time being, and there's nothing doing there for Error Code. As Error Code a bit wide there onto the grass, ever so wide there, rocking over that the rough terrain there on the exit, and he's now lost out there to Snoopy as well. So Snoopy up into 13th place. Where's Gertie? And the cameraman's not picking him up. I've clicked on him about 5 seconds ago and he's not picked him up. But oh, he's gone wide. Somebody's gone very wide. Gertie, and Ace Gertie only went wide. So Gertie and they're going to get horribly wrong. Loses a couple of places there. So now he's lost out to Sean and Stevie Mack as well. So Gertie down to 17th place in this race, I think. Is he or is he not? God knows, to be honest with you, because the camera never picks it up. But so he's behind Sean, but ahead of Stevie still. Oh, Stevie gets it horribly wrong there. Caprighia's going to pick him off here, coming onto the start finish straight. And Caprighia there moves himself up into P17. So easy pickings there for him. Jazzman in the meantime's got a 2-second gap over Tynus in the house, and then you've got Ludo there running in P3 ahead of PS Fids. Totally Zero still keeping with the leaders at the moment, but obviously early doors, so they are starting to string out a little bit now. The top 5 have gapped the rest of them: TJ Carlo, Guido Chris, Carl Marley, Andrew Remster and LOL 3000. 6 cars currently in a train here, battling over P6, but TJ Carlo currently at the head of that train. As Guido Chris is coming under heavy pressure from Carl Marley coming down this back straight. Is Carl Marley going to fancy his chances here? Probably, I would have thought. I don't want the heli cam. I wanted to flick to the wider angle TV camera, but for some reason we've been brandished with the heli cam. But there we go. And back to this battle here that we're watching in the mid-pack right now. Well, not really mid-pack, it's sort of like the upper mid-pack at the moment. But TJ Carlo has gapped these guys a little bit. Guido Christ continuing to keep Carl Marley at bay. How much longer is he going to be able to weather this storm though? Andrew's currently got Remster also really putting the pressure on him at the moment as they're going through the penultimate corner. So lots of battles going on here at the prominent area of the pack, but for the time being Guido Christ is keeping Carl Marley at bay, and also Andrew keeping Remster at bay. PS Fids seemingly is losing up a little bit of time here to Ludo at the moment. He's still got TJ Carlo, sorry, he's still got Totally Zero, should I say, on the back of him as they go through Paddock Hill Bend into Druids, but still no one's really close enough to make any moves at this point. Oh no, and Guido Christ loses it there, coming out of Paddock Hill Bend, and he tags Carl Marley there as he was losing the car. Not really no malicious intent there from Guido Christ, but Carl Marley's now spun it coming through Druids, and he's got the Snoopy there around his outside, and there's error code as well now, so he now fits in between them. What a shame there for Carl Marley. It was no fault of his own, and he's now lost it coming out of turn 3. As there is there's the Porsche of Guido Christ there, the wide there coming out of turn 3 onto the grass, loses out to error code as well, as you've got Sean now trying to attack on the back of him. So Sean has gone from, what, 22nd was he at the start, up into 14th place. He's been picking them off left, right and centre here, making the most of all the incidents going off in front of him. What a consistent drive it's been from him so far, and really bringing himself into the mid-pack very nicely here so far in this race. As he's a bit wide there going out of that section, that's going to give Gertie the run up into the position. Oh, Capriga now come to the inside as well, as we were 3 wide for a second there. But Gertian just keeping ahead of Capriga by the skin of his teeth. Goes a bit wide there onto the grass. Oh, sideways there from Gertian. Needs to keep it together. He just holds it as Capriga now has got Sean trying to come back at him coming through the penultimate corner. Close racing here, but fair racing from all of them so far. It's Jazzman still leading by 4 seconds ahead of Tynus in the house. You've got Ludo there in P3, a couple of seconds clear of Totally Zero with PS Fids. There's your top 5 drivers going through Druids here at the moment, but chaotic first couple of laps to this race. Gertian is still keeping Capriga at bay. Capriga's now looking to the outside here, coming into Paddock Hill Bend. Can he make it? It's going to go around the long way here. I think he's going to get the move done. He does get it done. He swoops around him there up into P14. Excellent stuff there from Capriga, as Gertian's still got Sean on the back of him, and Sean tags him in the rear, and he goes into the gravel there as well. Oh, what a shame there, and we see Steve, so Capriga and Gertian and Sean there having a moment, and Capriga has managed to swoop through and said, thank you very much boys, I will now leave myself in some clean air. Sean there, very sportsmanlike, gives Gertian a position back, so obviously acknowledging responsibility for that one and giving him back to place, which is what you want to see really. But yeah, what a first couple of laps it has been to this race here tonight at Brands Hatch for the penultimate round of the GT3 Championship here at Motive for Season 5. Totally Zero still running in 4th place at the moment ahead of PS Fids. Just under a second still the gap. In fact, Totally Zero has got ahead of him, sorry. So I just completely got that mixed up there. So PS Fids was ahead of Totally Zero, now he's behind him. So that is a position change there for P4. Didn't see where that happened, but PS Fids there maybe made a mistake because he's already nearly a second behind him. So it's not really close between them at this point. TJ Carlo is also gaining on both of them right now as well. So he's starting to get himself into this race. And I've noticed before with TJ Carlo, I don't know whether he struggles a little bit on cold tyres, but I've noticed at the start of races he tends to struggle a little bit compared to like the first couple of laps. He tends to take a bit of a time to just get himself into the flow, and then after about 3 or 4 laps he really starts to come into his own. So I don't know what it is with him, but I think maybe cold tyres are a bit of a kryptonite of his. But Gertie in the meantime and Carl Marley both in the pits at the end of lap 5. Total opposite to me obviously, because my driving style when I was a sim racer back in the day used to always be cold tyres were my thing. I loved cold tyres for some reason. I loved the slidiness of them, and they just seem like, I don't know, they seem more obedient. Cold tyres just for some reason just seemed like they did what you wanted them to do when you wanted them to do them, and that's why my qualifying record was so much better than my race record, because I liked to just be able to extract everything from it, and that slidiness, that feeling of just the car just whatever you want it to do, and then if it goes wrong you can just correct the steering. It was just, that was my style basically. And then in the races I just didn't like the way that I'd get understeery, and to be honest that was my lack of knowledge about setups really, which tended to screw me over in that department. But nonetheless, Totally Zero still running in 4th place. Now I've got 1.3 seconds back to PS Vids in that fight for P4. Lol 3000 is still keeping Remster on his toes at the moment as they're going through Paddock Hill Bend here on lap 7 of the race. High grade there ahead of Snoopy with Guido Chris. There's Erico running in the background in 13th place. Caprilia there, P14 at the moment, has got a bit of a gap back to Sean, who's in P15. But Jazzman in the meantime is checking out the front, 6 seconds in the first 6 laps. He is lapping, for those of you who can't do maths, it's a second a lap, that is, which is quite unbelievable. So yeah, what a performance so far from Jazzman. Guido Chris still trying to put the pressure on Snoopy at the moment, as we're still early doors here in this race. We've got some comments coming in here on the stream. I haven't been reading the comments here tonight, but good to see you all. Obviously we got Glenn mentioning there about how he's had no practice tonight. Joseph Adams says, hey everyone, welcome along Joseph, good to see you. Stephen Archibald there, Archie619, who is planning on racing with us very soon. Hopefully be back on tracks again soon. Be good to have you back, Archie. Obviously it's been a while. Archie was the runner-up in the on the PS4 version of ACC about a year or so ago, I think it was, in one of our seasons that we had when we raced on a Wednesday night for our main championship. We used to run the main championship on Wednesday and the sprint league on a Sunday, obviously the other way around from what we do it this season and the last couple of seasons. Now our main event's on a Sunday, but yeah, I remember Archie was second, I think, to Jazzman, I think, in that season, which is no mean feat, obviously, because we all know the class of Jazzman. I think Tynus was away that season, or he hadn't actually discovered Motive, because Jazzman is under very strict conditions that he's not allowed to share Motive with anybody in certain other leagues. So obviously word of mouth didn't quite, Tynus had to find us by himself, is basically what I'm trying to say. But Totally Zero in the meantime still running in P4 ahead of PS Vids, and TJ Carlo still right on the back of him. So TJ Carlo has been reeling in these two over the course of the last few laps, and he's getting closer and closer to the back of him here as PS Vids goes a little bit wide there, coming through that section. That's going to just lost him a bit of momentum and give TJ Carlo a bit of a boost here on the back of him. Chris in the comments also saying good luck all. Chris is also out on track. So is Zillabang. That's Erico there, is Zillabang, who's currently running in P13 at the moment, so driving a solid race. PS Vids has got it all wrong there, and TJ Carlo swooping around the outside of the penultimate corner up into P5. Didn't need a second invitation there. TJ Carlo, easy pickings for him. PS Vids loses the place, and TJ Carlo can now focus his attention on Totally Zero, who's about a second up the road there. But PS Vids with a little mistake, just got a little bit wide coming out at the third to last corner, and that was all that TJ Carlo needed to pounce. As we've got Totally Zero saying hi in the comments. Emo guy, Ian Prentice, evening troops, he says. Welcome to you, Ian. Obviously, Ian used to commentate with us back in the day. He's also raced with us for many a season, and also is going to be commentating with me from September, from next season onwards. He's going to be commentating alongside myself on all of the leagues, or when he can anyway, when he's available. So looking forward to that, and yeah, that should be fun. Also, Stephen Archibald, I'm on PS5 now, so hopefully soon. Definitely, mate. We could see. Obviously, you've got the license for ACC already, so I'm sure you've been downloading that as we just accidentally clicked off of this thing again. So we're now being pinged back on the heli camera, which I didn't want, to be honest with you. I don't actually like the heli camera. It's not that professional, but yeah. For some reason now it's just not playing ball anymore, which is quite annoying. But we're back on the camera we want. So. Totally Zero still running in 4th place, but TJ Carlo hunting him down more and more over the last few laps. Guido Chris also on the back of in fact, Guido Chris is now ahead of Snoopy. Snoopy's made a mistake, I think. He's lost a few places here. What has happened to him? So Snoopy down to 14th place. He's now behind Erico, Lol 3000 and Caprilia as well. So I think he must have had a spin. He's behind Sean now. So Sean's up into 14th place. And Snoopy's also dropped behind Stevie. So where has Snoopy dropped down to here? He's just ahead of Chris, so he's in P16 now, is Snoopy. And that will be the last thing that he wanted right here then. So what an unfortunate shame there for Snoopy, but got to stick with this battle between Totally Zero and TJ Carlo here as they fight it out over 4th place. Also keeping an eye on Guido Christian, Law 3000 there, with Error Code and Caprigia on the back of them as well. And we see Snoopy into the pits, and in fact, yeah, there he is, so he's coming into the box now, here at the end of lap 9. So I think some damage on the car inevitably would have been the cause for that, because a pit stop at this stage in the race doesn't really benefit you, unless you're going for the undercut. But then you probably come in the first couple of laps. If you're trying to get the undercut on everyone else, you come in the first lap or the second lap or somewhere very early. There's not really any benefits coming on at this stage. But yeah, currently we've got Lol 3000, Error Code and Capriga still battling it out over 11th place, keeping an eye battle between Totally Zero and TJ Carlo. But Totally Zero is quite good at defending, so I think it might be a while until we see any real pressure coming from TJ Carlo. I won't be sort of flicking to that until I see that gap at about 2 or 3 tenths. It's currently about half a second at the moment, so we'll leave that one for now. But Error Code and Capriga are still running quite close here as they're coming out of the final corner. Snoopy's still in the pits, getting his damage fixed at the moment, as Capriga there moving through. That's the back marker there who's letting them through. But I wasn't sure. Actually, it probably wasn't. I don't actually know. Probably wasn't, to be fair. Oh, it's TJ Carlos still on the back of Totally Zero at the moment. No changes there between them. Jazzman already 10 seconds clear of Tynus, continuing to lap a second lap quicker than everybody else here tonight. It's been a total dominant display from Jazzman so far. Nobody is able to touch him around this Brands Hatch GP circuit. And we've got Snoopy with a stop-go penalty. So he's coming to the pits obviously to get his damage fixed, and it's gone from bad to worse for him. As if it couldn't get any more frustrating for him, he's now got to do a stop-go penalty just to add insult to injury to the damage that he already had to fix. So really it's a massive double whammy there for him. Error Code has still got Capriga all over the back of him as they're going through the penultimate corner. Totally Zero still just ahead of TJ Carlo, but TJ Carlo looking to the inside. It's Druids thinking about a move, but thought better of it there. Just didn't have enough of his car alongside Totally Zero. PS Vids is trying to come back at TJ Carlo as well here, so TJ Carlo will be wanting to get over this as quickly as possible here. Otherwise, he'll be vulnerable to the Ferrari behind him. Obviously, PS Vids driving his first ever league race in the Ferrari tonight. Oh, TJ Carlo's gone wide, very wide there, coming out onto the back straight, and they're side by side here. Who's going to have the better straight line speed? Looks like TJ Carlo slightly quicker in a straight line. We'll have the inside as well, so that will give him the advantage. But PS Vids has managed to keep the grip around the outside here. Who's going to come out on top? No, PS Vids is wide, very wide onto the grass, and he loses that one. TJ Carlo survives for the time being. PS Vids has got a big gap back to Andrew though, so he's safe in P6 at the moment. As those guys were just putting a lap on some traffic, if you were a bit confused there. That is Epiphany who's just behind him. I can recognise his livery from a mile off. As Lord 3000 is into the pits to make his mandatory pit stop here. And Snoopy's now coming in again to do his stop-go penalty. So things have continued to get worse and worse here for him. Sean there gets a little bit wide. Oh, and he's been tagged around by... Is that a high-grade livery? But it can't have been, surely not. No. Who was that crashed with Sean? I don't even know who it was. It was Stevie. Oh, no. So Sean and Stevie, they're coming together, coming out of the final corner. Those two, I know they're friends. It's not what they would have been wanting, to crash into each other on their debut race here. So Stevie coming into the pits. to get that fixed. Sean continues on his merry way for the time being, but that's pretty much a nightmare there for those two. And they've had a really good race so far as well. They kept themselves out of trouble up until now, so just need to keep that up, and they'll be in for some good points here tonight. TJ Carlo and PS Fitz still running close in P5 and 6. Obviously with those two having their battle a couple of laps ago, it's given Totally Zero a little bit of breathing space here in P4. It's a bit more comfortable now in that position. Stevie Mack currently sat in the pits at this moment in time. PS Fitz just opened up a bit of a gap to TJ Carlo here. You can see just over a second between those two at the moment. TJ Carlo is actually being caught by Andrew as well, so Andrew is bringing the gap down to those two a little bit. Didn't have the best first couple of laps, but he's starting to really get into his stride now and hunting these guys down in that battle for P5. Totally Zero looking more and more safe in 4th place. Ludo in no man's land at the moment, running in 3rd place. He's had a very quiet race as Ludo. We've barely spoken about him at all. About 5 seconds behind Tynus, so could even put Tynus under pressure here, depending on strategies. I'm just hoping and praying that Jazzman is on a half-tank strategy here, so we might have a bit of a race maybe in the last part, obviously, because he'll be coming in for a longer pit stop than Tynus would if he's on a half-tank. So yeah, I'm just hoping and praying that Jazzman is on a half-tank strategy, and we might actually see a race at the end, because if Jazzman's on a half-tank, then he will have to try and catch up and overtake Tynus, which could give us a bit of entertainment here tonight. And obviously if that does happen, I'll be looking forward to it immensely. TJ Carlo is in the pits, so is Capriglia, so those two coming in and making their mandatory pit stops at the end of lap 15. Slightly earlier than the halfway point, so I don't think a tyre change is likely, but saying that, Capriglia seems to have been stationary for a while, and so does TJ Carlo, so maybe there are some tyre changes going on. In fact, there definitely are, because they've been stuck for far too long there. Oh, and TJ Carlo's retired their car, so we have lost TJ Carlo from this race. What a shame there. We started with 24 drivers tonight and we're down to 19. It's not been a good night. We got Sam in the comments, Sam Burnford there, saying hi. Hello Sam, welcome along, good to see you. First time I've seen you on the Motive channel. We've got somebody coming into the pits, just peeling off there. You saw on the right hand side of your screen, it wasn't Capriglia, it was somebody else. It was Chris there, who's coming in to make his mandatory pit stop now. Again, a bit before the halfway mark, so I imagine that there's going to be, you wouldn't think they'd be changing tyres, but then I don't think Capriglia was either. And you know what, I don't think Capriglia is. I think he's actually making himself comfortable there. I don't think he's planning on leaving. As PS Vids makes a mistake going out of paddock hill. I just looked at the gap to see it was over 2 seconds. He must have already made a mistake coming to the final part of the previous lap, and he's now made a huge error there. He's now well behind Totally Zero. Andrew's now not far behind him at all here. Well within 3 seconds, I would say, looking at that with the naked eye. So he's gained a couple of seconds there with PS Vids running wide going out of Paddock Hill Bend, and this could be an opportunity for Andrew to get himself into the top 5 here. Chris still in the pits as Capriga's also, pardon me, still in the pits. That was a burp, not a hiccup. That was so rude. But Gertjan still running in 11th place at the moment. Obviously he's already pitted. He's actually the highest runner of the pit stop drivers here on his first appearance on ACC here at Motive for quite a long time. And yeah, it's been quite a quiet performance as well from him. He's kept a low profile, hasn't really drawn much attention to himself. Chris coming out of the pits now, and he's going to come out just behind Lowell 3000 and just ahead of, no wait, yeah, Chris just behind Lowell 3000 and a little bit ahead of Glenn, so slots into 13th place for the time being, as he's got Ludo coming around to lap him as well. Ludo's just in the background there, noticing that livery as well. There's certain liveries that just stand out like a sore thumb. Well, not like a sore thumb, that's the wrong word because that sounds quite derogatory. Stand out like a shooting star, should I say? Probably a better phrase. But yeah, very fetching livery actually is that one for Ludo, as he's putting a lap there on the McLaren of Chris there, and does it without any real major incident. But Jazzman's still leading the race and has got just under 15 seconds of a gap right now over Tynus in the house, who is still running in P2, still best of the rest, and is still pulling away from Ludo, but just has not got the pace of Jazzman. And as I said earlier on, I just hope that Jazzman is half tanking this, otherwise it's not going to be a very exciting race for the win anyway. I'll tell you what, if Jazzman is half tanking it, it will set us up with a nail biting finish, because with the track being very cold, the tyre wear shouldn't really be too much of an issue. And obviously if you are changing tyres as well, tyre warm up could play a factor, because it's not going to be easy to get those tyres in the right window around a track that is this cold. Oh, as in the background, that wasn't Ludo, that was a lapped car there losing it. That must have been Lowell 3000, it was, yeah, getting it all wrong coming out of turn 1. He's now got Chris pressuring him for 12th place, so this is a battle that's about to start developing here. Of you currently watching live on YouTube here tonight. Welcome along, guys. Good to see you all tuning in. Hopefully you're enjoying what you're watching. If you are, please do smash the like button, as it really does help us out an enormous amount. Show your appreciation for the drivers out on track and the efforts that they're putting in tonight in the dark here at Brands Hatch, in the cold and dark Great Britain. You've got to give it to these guys for being able to put up with that. But Gertjan currently is just running ahead of, I think that's one of our new drivers. I think I'm pretty sure. No, number 50. No, hold on. Number 96. Sorry, that's Stevie. So yeah, was one of the new drivers there. But yeah, Gertjan, the highest runner of the pit stop drivers. It'd be interesting to see where he can get to here in this race. As Sean's into the pits here at the end of lap 19, so he becomes the next driver to come in and make his mandatory pit stop. That still leaves 9 drivers yet to come in. Jazzman, the race leader, is one of them, but I have this inkling that he might be on a half tank strategy here, which will mean that he'll have to change tyres and put fuel in the car, and it could explain his far superior pace to his usually quite equal competitor in Tynus. Got TJ Carlo in the comments. He's saying stupid game, bad frames, and I tell it no tyre change, quitting early for clean air around me, and the game changes tyres. Well, it looks like the menu's messed up there. I think that's happened to me before a couple of times. very frustrating there when obviously no fault of his own, obviously the game letting him down. Oh, I don't really know what to say about that one. Stevie's got done for speeding in the pit lane, so he's got a stop-go penalty, which is going to add insult to injury here in this race. And we see that the number 15 car of Remster trying to go around the outside. Remster manages to not get that done for the time being then. Robert Rorolonsky there, Robe saying, had to retire because my desk was about to collapse. Oh my days, hopefully that's alright, mate. Hopefully you can get that fixed before the next race, the final round next week. That sounds very debilitating indeed. I must admit, I had quite a flimsy desk back at my old house, which ended up getting chucked in a skip. But yeah, that was hanging on for dear life, and it always used to rock, and people always used to think that it was my wheel. It wasn't my wheel. My wheel was perfectly fine. It was the desk underneath it that was hanging on for dear life, and yeah, I used to draw some scathing remarks from the lads who I race with on Project Cars 2. But obviously I'm retired from sim racing now. I will obviously have to jump in their lobbies at some point because I haven't spoken to them in ages. I'll have to probably do some comms for them. But yeah, I'm just a commentator now. I've retired from racing, at least for the foreseeable future. Who knows, in a year or two I might start up again, but for the time being I just don't have anywhere to put my wheel. I've got no space to put it. Literally, I've got the bed takes out about half the space in the room. I've got a rack. I haven't got a desk. I've got a rack which has got like documents and papers and just all sorts of crap in it, and then I've got my computer on top of that, or my laptop, and yeah, there's no space to put anything at the moment. So I'm in temporary retirement, but potentially planning a comeback at some point in the future, but who knows when that's going to be. But we've got Remster and Eric Cody in the pits at the moment, making their mandatory pit stops. Stevie coming in to serve his stop-go penalty as well, so a few drivers coming in here at the end of lap 22. DJ Carlo in the comments saying it is what it is. It is, man. Unfortunately, some things you just can't control. It's just one of them things. It's frustrating, but at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, what can you do? Jazzman's leading in the meantime, 20 seconds over Tynus, so he is just skipping away into the sunset at the moment. Totally Zero's gap to PS Vids just over 3 seconds, so not really much pressure coming from PS Vids on the back of Totally Zero at this point. Obviously once the pit stops come into play, we'll get a better idea of where everybody is in terms of net race position. Error Code is now the highest running pit stop driver. But to be honest, all of the guys at the front, all the guys who haven't pitted are the guys who were front runners to begin with. So I don't think there's going to be too much integration from those who haven't pitted in terms of the rest of the pack. I think it's mostly going to stay the same as what it is at the moment on the leaderboard. Tynus is still gapping Ludo, 10 seconds now between those two, so the podium drivers all very spread out, but Ludo's just got a little bit more pace than Totally Zero has. Totally Zero also consistently dropping off, so there aren't any battles for any of the top positions here. The top four have all kind of got their own pace. They're all just a little bit quicker than each other. Jazzman's got a bit of pace over Tynus, or Jazzman's got a lot of pace over Tynus, and he's gone well beyond the halfway point as well. So I think that pipe dream of us hoping he might be on a half tank has now gone flying out of the window. Much like an enemy of Putin. But Ludo a bit wide there going out of second to last corner. But yeah, the only battle really near the front is PS Vids potentially closing in on Totally Zero here. And you can see the gap's now 2 seconds. I don't know if Totally Zero's made a mistake, but that gap came down by quite a bit over the course of this particular lap. So maybe PS Vids is now looking to try and up the tempo and have a little charge here on the back of Totally Zero. So we approach the final part of this race. Still plenty of way to go at the moment. We're not there just yet. Still 24 minutes of this race left to go. We're 25 laps in, so it's probably going to be around, I would say, a 43 lap race. I would say. I would hazard an estimate. Pardon me, that was a hiccup. So I had to mute my mic there, otherwise he might be a bit worried about me. That was a violent hiccup, I could feel that one coming. PS Vids just over a second behind Totally Zero at the moment. So he's continuing to roll that gap down. I reckon Totally Zero could have some damage here. Potentially that's going to be what's causing him to be hunted down very, very quickly now by the Ferrari of PS Vids. Driving his first ever race in the Ferrari obviously tonight. Has always raced in... Well, he's raced in the Aston, the Bentley and the BMW, so very different choice of car, the Ferrari. Completely different kettle of fish. But coming through the final corner here, he's always gone for the more heavier cars in the past, but this one, obviously the Ferrari, a bit more nimble, a bit more easier. But they all have their advantages, don't they? There's pros and cons to everything, but currently he's right on the back of Totally Zero as they're coming up the hill towards Druids. The McLaren and the Ferrari, similar sort of cars really in terms of their characteristics, but personally I think I prefer the Ferrari on ACC and probably on project cars too as well, to be honest. As Totally Zero here, he's turning to the inside. PS Vid's got a right run coming in towards turn 4. You can't get it around him though. Totally Zero still holds on for that one. PS Vids though is trying his absolute hardest here. He's putting every bit of pressure he possibly can on the back of Totally Zero. That looked like it could have been job done there around the outside going into turn 4, but Totally Zero managed to go late enough on the brakes and keep the momentum there on the inside of the corner. PS Vids though looking to try and get a cut back through one of these corners, still can't get it done. A little bit wide there onto the curb. as they're coming around to put a lap on some traffic here. Not sure who it is at this point, but there is a driver just up ahead of them here. As Totally Zero PS Fid's almost tapping Totally Zero in the rear there, and they have got a back marker who's moving over to the side as they just about managed to get out of the way there. Is that Snoopy? I think it's Snoopy there. They just put a lap on. Yeah, it is. But PS Fid's now looking to the outside of Totally Zero, and he's going to go for a cutback coming out of the final corner. He's going to get a good run here, but Totally Zero parks his car on the inside, making sure there's no way through there for PS Fid's. It's a dead end. You're not going to make your way through there. Here we come in towards Paddock Bend for the 28th time in this race, and Totally Zero is still parking his car on the inside. He knows how to defend. He's a wily defensive driver, is Totally Zero. I believe he's only a young lad as well. I think he's a teenager, so he's a youngster, but he's got that defensive nous. He knows how to make his car as wide as he possibly can. He's definitely got wisdom beyond his years, but for the time being, Totally Zero keeping on to this 4th place by the skin of his teeth. PS Fid's is going to be trying everything he possibly can in the final third of this race, and he's a bit wide there going out of turn 4 as well, which is not going to compromise his run coming down the back straight. And he's now being put under pressure by the lapped car here of Snoopy, but Totally Zero for the time being is holding on to this one. Chris there says in the comments, I also crashed really bad frame mates. I don't know what's going on. Well, the server did actually crash at the beginning of practice, but I did a server repair beforehand, which I don't know if maybe because I think you have to leave the server a bit before you do one of those. I think it's best to leave it for about an hour or do those in the middle of the night. I've heard apparently it's not good for the server to do that just before a race, so I don't know, maybe next time what I'll do is after this race I'll repair the server ready for next week, so then obviously I'll reset it and then hopefully it should be ready for then. As PS Fid's coming into the pits here at the end of lap 28, so he's come in, he's going to go for the undercut here. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to get a few laps in clean air so that he can come out ahead of Totally Zero. Oh, he's going to have some traffic right behind him. Does he come out ahead of Day here? It's going to be close, but PS Fid's just comes out in clean air. That was close there, I tell you what. He almost lost the position there today, but he manages to come out just ahead there. Obviously, these guys are a lap down on him anyway. But that was a close call there, and Day's actually being lapped there as well. Is that Error Code that's lapped him? It is Error Code, so Error Code there actually not far behind PS Fid's. And I tell you what, this is a battle for position potentially brewing on the horizon here, because PS Fid's and Error Code have both been in. Gertjan's about 10 seconds behind these guys as well, running in 9th place, so he might fancy himself being able to bring himself into this. Chris has been having the issues with frame rate all week. Don't know, maybe the game needs another patch, eh? Totally Zero coming in to cover off PS Fid's. Knows that PS Fid's is in clean air now. Doesn't want to risk PS Fid's being able to get the hammer down and get the jump on him. Totally Zero onto the jacks and off the jacks already. PS Fid's coming into the final corner. Totally Zero halfway down the pit lane. Here he comes in towards the pit exit now. Where is PS Fid's? He's just coming out of the final corner. He's going to be flat to the boards here. There is Totally Zero coming into Paddock Bend, and he's come out just ahead of Lowell 3000. PS Fid's there putting a lap on Snoopy again, as he gets a bit of a slide there through turn 1 as PS Fid's, and Snoopy there getting it wrong onto the grass in the background there, and it loses out there to one of the other drivers. I don't think he's actually for position, but PS Fid's there comes out well behind Totally Zero, so Totally Zero managing to get a much better stop there. Hold on, wait. Why is it showing as him not having pitted? Oh dear. It shows up on our screen that Totally Zero hadn't been in. I definitely saw him stop in the box, went up on the jacks, then went off again. So if he can send us some footage to prove that he was actually, because it looked like he was on the jacks, but Totally Zero, make sure you save your footage if you're listening. If you're not, obviously I'm wasting my breath, but hopefully he saves his footage and we can use that to exonerate him from his potential disqualification. But Totally Zero now 3 seconds ahead of PS Vid, so he's had a much better stop there, which is going to benefit him no end in this fight for potential top 5 here. Snoopy into the pits here at the end of lap 31, so he becomes the next driver to make his pit stop. There's Ramster just being lapped by PS Vids. PS Vids, is he really gaining on Totally Zero? I think PS Vids might have made a mistake or might have been involved in an incident here, because he's now way behind Totally Zero. So I don't know what's happened there. Totally Zero only a second behind High Grade at the moment, but PS Vids is now 18 seconds behind Totally Zero. He was about 3 seconds behind him a moment ago. So has PS Vids run into a problem here? I'm not quite sure, but Snoopy's into the pits. I wonder if he maybe came together with the lap car as Snoopy potentially. Gertie in the meantime is battling over 9th place with Remster at this stage. Those two having a very close fight here in the mid pack, and Gertie's had a relatively quiet, but he's had a couple of moments, but overall he's kept his nose clean. Still going, P9. Obviously you got to, in order to finish first you got to finish, and currently holding on ahead of one of our experienced veterans here, Ramster. Snoopy in the meantime still in the pits, so I don't think we're going to be seeing him re-emerge before the race ends, by the looks of it. But there go Gertie and Ramster over the line here to complete lap 33 of the race. As Ramster had a little look to the inside into Druids. He's having another look there on the exit, but Gertie still holding his ground. Sean back in the pits. So did he underfuel maybe when he came in for his first stop? That's the only theoretical explanation I can have, because his car seems to be in perfect nip. Him and Stevie are both coming in, which is not ideal for either of them. Obviously Stevie's 6 laps down, so his race goes from bad to worse, but Sean, and he wasn't having that bad of a race, was he? I don't really know. It must have been fuel. That's the only realistic conclusion I can come to. Totally Zero, about a second and a half behind High Grade at the moment. Remster's still on the back of Gertie in his battle for 9th place, but still doesn't seem to be able to find a way through. See, Sean's now off and away off the jacks and coming out of the pit lane. Stevie's still sat in his box at the moment, so doesn't look like he's going to be getting going anytime soon. Gertian and Remster there into turn 1. Once again here on lap 34 of the race for them. Race to the Jazzman currently on lap 35, just putting a lap there on somebody. I think that's the number 96 there. That's the that is, no, it can't be because he's in the pits. Who is it though? God knows who it is. I can't really tell. I don't know. I actually don't know. It's too dark. I shouldn't have set this race to the dark because Brands Hatch is obviously, there's no floodlights, so I don't really know why I did this, to be honest. I think this might have been accidental, I can't remember. But yeah, this is, unfortunately, it's just I don't know. I don't even know what to say. I don't know what to say anymore. I just don't even know. Totally Zero in the meantime coming into the pits, so he's making his, what is it, his only pit stop here at the end of lap 35, and he's going to be coming in, presumably not putting any fuel in because we're way beyond the halfway point now. Low 3000 getting around the outside of Chris there with a lovely move at the end of the back straight. Look at that. That was beautiful there. Fantastic stuff. Up into P11. Less than 10 minutes to go here at Brands Hatch for round 7 here of the GT3 Championship as Jazzman comes over the line to start lap 37 here. 13 of you currently watching live on YouTube here. If you guys are enjoying, please do smash that like button. Helps us out an enormous amount. As Stevie Mac here into the pits, and obviously show appreciation for the drivers because the guys who are still here, they put in a lot of effort here tonight in these dark conditions here. It's not easy around a circuit like Brands Hatch with no floodlights for most of the circuit. You're relying solely on your headlights to sort of tell you where you're going, really. So yeah, it's not easy at all. Remster's still right on the back of Gertian, but Gertian's putting in a good defensive display. Oh, as Remster tags him in the rear there going into Druids. That put Gertian a little bit offline, but he's managed to hold it together for the time being. Ludo into the pits. Sean's still in the pits, so is Stevie. So neither of those two appear to be moving at the moment. As Gertian there with damage on the rear end of the car after that collision. Remster went steaming into the back of him, going into Druids. Chris is still on the back of Low 3000, despite Low 3000 going around the outside of him, coming down the end of the back straight on the previous lap. So still nip and tuck between those two. Ludo's come out of the pits now, so he's got his pit stop done and is now back out on the circuit once again. We've got a driver moving, so Sean is now off and away again. Stevie still showing no signs of re-emerging at this particular moment in time. High grade coming into the box here at the end of lap 37. So that just now leaves 3 drivers to come in and make their mandatory pit stops. Jazzman, the runaway race leader, Tynus, the championship leader, and Andrew, who's currently in P3 and I think potentially could be on for a top 5 here if he continues this consistency. It's been a solid drive from him here tonight. Totally Zero running in P7 at the moment. He's on the back of High Grade here, getting closer to the back of High Grade now, only 0.4 of a second between them. Obviously Totally Zero had to come in for 2 pit stops because I think he missed his pit box the first time. I don't know what happened, but he came in and then came back out. I don't really know what went on, to be honest. It was a bit of a strange one, but luckily for him, the pit lane at Brands Hatch is very short, so he didn't lose as much time as you probably would usually in that situation. I've definitely noticed that in the back part of the race that Tynus hasn't been dropping as much time to Jazzman, so I wonder if he's been looking after the tyres a little bit better. Obviously neither of them have been into the pits, so there's no difference in terms of strategy, or maybe Jazzman's just cooled down a little bit, maybe because he knows he's got this win in the bag, he knows he doesn't have to push, probably just taking it a little bit easy now, I don't know, but he's certainly not got that superior pace that he had at the beginning, where he was about a second a lap quicker. He's now probably, I'd say he's lapping probably about half a second a lap quicker at the moment, maybe not even that. But yeah, definitely coasting at this stage is Jazzman. He knows he's got it in the bag, he knows he doesn't have to really try that hard at this particular moment, as Gertie in there is moving aside for High Grade to go around the outside, and that is for position there. So had High Grade made a mistake, oh, it's contact, oh, and High Grade's wide and onto the grass and spins round coming out of turn 3. He's facing the wrong way. Gertie in there continuing on his way, and who's he battling with there? That's Remster again. So High Grade must have already made a mistake which dropped him down behind error code. And now he's made another mistake which dropped him down to, I think, at least P10. Yeah, P10. So I go with a bit of a horror show there. He's not showing up on the timing screen yet as having dropped down a position there, which is quite strange. That was unmistakably High Grade there, who was running with Gertie and Remster. So I don't quite know what's happened there, unless he's somehow a lap ahead of them, which would be quite unbelievable when you consider the fact that he's only 2 places ahead of them, but maybe that is the case. Seems a bit inconceivable. In the meantime, we've got Gertie and side by side with Remster coming over the start finish line into turn 1, close race in between them, and Gertie still holding on to that position. These two have been battling out for a number of laps now. Gertie, with that damage on the rear end of the car, will be affecting his performance a little bit, but Remster hasn't been able to take advantage of that. Obviously it was inflicted by Remster in the beginning anyway. It's been quite cheap for him to be able to capitalise on something that he himself actually caused to happen anyway. But I suppose that's life really, isn't it? But Andrew coming into the pits here at the end of lap 39. And Jazzman and Tynus both staying out. Jazzman's pace definitely starting to drop off a bit. I wonder if Jazzman's picked up some damage here, because his pace has really dropped off, like seriously. Tynus is now the quicker man out of these two at this stage in the race. Jazzman needs to make sure he doesn't set his damage to be fixed, because if he does he will lose time in the pits, so he needs to ensure that he doesn't have his damage set to fixed, otherwise he could be in huge trouble here. Remster right at the back, oh, and Remster's tagged Gertie in the coming into the second to last corner. Gertie straight on there, he's not going to be happy with that one. Was that Remster's fault, or did Gertie move in the braking zone? I'm not sure, but Gertie in there dropping a load of time there to Remster. He's down to P10, and Remster did a bit of a push to pass there by the looks of it, from what I saw at least, but who knows, maybe it was a movement in the braking zone which caught Remster out, but Gertie in there down to P10. And what a shame that that battle had to end like that, because those two were having a clean fight for most of this race, since pretty much the middle part of the race, since the pit stops was when those two have been battling since. That is a real shame there. Tynus in the meantime is about to put a lap on PS Vids. So that's the second place man lapping the 5th place man. First and second have been in a league of their own tonight. Or they're saying that they haven't been in the pits yet. So PS Vids will be back on the lead lap by the time that the pit stops are done. As Jazzman's into the pits now, so the race leader boxing at the end of lap 41. Oh, and somebody's spun out there. We're watching Tynus, somebody's spun out. Lol 3000, who's lost it there coming through the middle sector. Jazzman into the pits. Is Tynus going to follow suit here as he's coming through into clearways now? He's staying wide, so he's going to stay out for one more lap. He will get one more opportunity to make that pit stop. and he's going to use that opportunity here. Jazzman coming out off the pit lane, back out onto the circuit. Tynus will lead a lap if his pit box is behind the start. Oh no, actually the start finish line is at the pit exit, so he will not lead a lap. No, he would have led a lap actually, he would have led that lap, so yeah, he did lead a lap. Tynus led at the end of lap 41, so he leads one lap of this race, but so Jazzman misses out on the Grand Chelem because of that. But I'm sure he's not going to be too bothered about that, if I'm honest. The fact that he's got pole, win, probably the fastest lap. Yeah, he's got the purple dot next to his name, which means he's got the fastest lap. So I don't think he'll be too disappointed in missing out on the Grand Chelem. But obviously Tynus will be in at the end of this lap, and we'll have to settle for second place here tonight. I do think the Jazzman has picked up some damage here at the end of the race, because his pace has really dropped off in the closing stages. Tynus has actually been closing in on him in the last few laps, and that was certainly not the case in the early stages. So yeah, I don't know whether Jazzman put it in the wall or whether he had contact with a back marker or something. Something's clearly happened, but it hasn't cost him the win. I don't think anyway. It's very unlikely to at this stage. But Tynus in the house coming in to make his mandatory pit stop here at the end of lap 42. And Jazzman coming around the final corner here to continue on his way and start the final lap of this race here at Brands Hatch. He's just about to put a lap here on P6 man, totally zero as well. So Jazzman lapping every driver up to P7, which just goes to show how much of a fantastic performance it's been from him tonight. He's just been in another world from everybody else, including his rival Tynus. But Tynus coming towards the end of the pit lane now, about 20-25 seconds behind Jazzman. Unbelievable stuff from this man as he puts a lap on our 6th place driver, and that means that only the top 5 have failed to be lapped by Jazzman. What a one-sided affair it has been in favour of our 5-time champion here at Motive on the PlayStation platform here on ACC. Has won this GT3 championship 4 times. He's won the Sprint League once. And obviously this season won't be the champion because he's been racing as a reserve, albeit a permanent reserve, because he's been here every race. But he's been racing a few different cars over the course of this season, so he hasn't scored points for a few of the rounds, which means that he's not in championship contention. It's going to be Tynus who's going to win the championship, I have no doubt about that. But Jazzman coming out of the final corner here at Brands Hatch, and it's going to be a fantastic win as he gets it a little bit wrong coming out on the final corner onto the grass. But here he comes, Jazzman taking the checkered flag. What a performance there from him. Totally zero, a lap down, takes P5. So that's incredible there. PS5 made a mistake on the final lap, dropped to P6. Chris there 2 laps down in 11th. Day comes over 3 laps down in P15. Remster finishes the race 1 lap down in 9th place. Gertian comes over also a lap down in P10. Sean's already boxed, he's already finished the race. Lowell 3000 coming out of the final corner. He's got, I think, Ludo just behind him. No, he's got Erico just behind him. No, who is that? Epiphany there coming over to take P13 behind Lowell 3000. Glenn's coming through the penultimate corner. Ludo's coming up towards the line. It's going to be a podium for him. A quiet race for Ludo, but some solid points there. Second in the championship at the moment to Tynus. The gap was 32 points before tonight, so that's going to extend by a little bit. It's going to be 34 points, so Ludo's still in mathematical contention for this championship. If Tynus has a retirement in the final round, then Ludo can still win this championship. It's not actually over yet. Andrew takes 4th place. Erico coming in towards the final corner. It's going to be an 8th place here for him. But ladies and gentlemen, that is that then for tonight for the GT3 Championship here at Motive, the penultimate round of Season 5. Congratulations to Jazzman, Tynus and Ludo on taking the podium. It feels weird saying the other 2 in the same sentence to Jazzman here tonight because he's been on another level from everybody. But well done to Jazzman on taking an emphatic win here in the dark at Brands Hatch. And yeah, thanks to all the drivers who showed up here tonight. If you did enjoy watching this back afterwards, please do smash the like button, share it with your friends, family members and otherwise associates. And to those of you who watch live, also a big thank you. If you're interested in joining, go to www.motiveracing.com. You can join our PlayStation 5 ACC GT3 Championship for next season, Sunday nights. We're going to be running 2 tiers next season because we always get better numbers in the autumn than we do in the summer. So 2 tiers for next season. Obviously it'll be the returning drivers will be in tier 1, but those who race in tier 2 will have the opportunity to get promotion to tier 1 for the season after. So you know, if you perform well, you can be one of these guys racing in the creme de la creme league. But with that being said, guys, I'm going to get off. Thanks ever so much for joining us once again. We'll see you in the next one for the final round next week, which I'm going to let you know where it is now. I'm sure it's in the USA because I always try and make the final round in the USA. Don't ask why, I don't really know. But we're at COTA next week, so we go to Austin, Texas to close out the season. For the championship decider as well, Tynus and Ludo, who's going to take it? Odds are on Tynus, but let's wait and see. Cheers everybody, and yeah, see you later.